Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at VeChain, its valuations against Ethereum. We'll take a look at the US dollar as well, but starting with Ethereum. Um, it seems now, or what it looks to be, um, that VeChain is waning against Ethereum. We thought earlier in May and in June, I think up to June 14th, I had the sentiment that, VeChain has looks to have the ability to hold the valuation against Ethereum um, for the duration of the time that Bitcoin is below the 20-week moving average, and the inspiration of that would have been from Cardano against Ethereum. We see this period from May 10th to now that is rock solid, rock solid. It's been what 2, 4, 6, 8. It's been almost 9 weeks, 9 weeks Sunday that Cardano has held against Ethereum this well. In the same amount of time, VeChain has been now bleeding. From June 14th, where you could still argue that it's moving sideways and it's rock solid, we have dropped about 18% against Ethereum. So the drop is happening, the drop is still occurring, and if we look to the daily, you can kind of see when that happens, right? You can kind of, you can even say up to June 20th, right? Up to June 20th, we're moving sideways. It was a longer bleed till June 20th, and then we had a pretty nasty 11% correction against Ethereum for VeChain, and then it started moving sideways, and now we're bleeding again. So it seems like the trend is going down now, which is obviously not good for people who are holding VeChain, and is something that we almost expected because VeChain is an altcoin, right? If Bitcoin is bearish, altcoins are going to be more bearish, and that's the general kind of rule. Not a hard line rule, obviously, but it's a generalization that is safe to assume for most altcoins, and VeChain is a part of that crew. Uh, and so, unfortunately, VeChain is not special. It is waning against Ethereum. It is also waning against Bitcoin, where it has been bleeding to the downside. And again, comparing it to, say, um, Cardano, it's been pretty rock solid, right? It's been in this range for quite some time. Um, with VeChain, it's more of a downwards trend. Like we're not keeping pace. We're unfortunately not keeping pace, and it's just not working. So with that said, I mean we could take a look at the U.S. dollar. It's also waning, but I mean for a lot of altcoins, I mean even with Cardano against the U.S. dollar, it's rock solid. Like look at that. So with that said, what are the next steps for VeChain? So the next steps for VeChain is back to my initial expectation of VeChain. Before I kind of thought, oh, maybe it can hold against Ethereum like Cardano is doing, because they both behave somewhat similarly. But it comes to the initial expectation that VeChain against Ethereum will continue to bleed until it reaches down to this region here. This is the region where I bought VeChain around this area with my Ethereum. You could also see here as well as here. And every single time that VeChain comes into this area, you can even say here, there's a rally. There's a rally. We don't know how high the rally goes, but we can assume that because of the current market that we're in. So, if we paint a scenario where VeChain's in that buy region, that lower region, Bitcoin manages to get above the 20-week moving average, we can then assume that, okay, we're back on track. The bull run is back. We don't believe that this is the market cycle top. And so with that said, VeChain should have a pretty decent rally for the weeks and months to come. And so that is my target. That is essentially my target. It gets a little bit more difficult now because I'm based out in Canada. Binance, which is one of the exchanges that I used and specifically used to buy VeChain, is closing up shop by the end of the year. So, um, with that said, I'm kind of a little disappointed in that. Maybe there's going to be a separate Binance site for Canadian and UK users. I don't know. But with that said, I probably have to use like crypto.com or I don't know. I don't think I can even use Huobi because Huobi is also banned in the part of Canada that I'm from. So, with that said, it's a little difficult to accumulate an altcoin that you can't really accumulate easily. So, if we do come back to this region, I'll consider finding means to accumulate VeChain. And that's most likely going to be through crypto.com. So it's not necessarily the end of the world, at least for me to accumulate this asset. It's just cumbersome. I have to create a new account. I have to, you know, create a new path, like create an entirely new account, get verified, etc. I think. I don't know if, yeah, I'm pretty sure crypto.com does KYC. So I'll probably get onto that fairly quickly. But I mean, this is something that doesn't really matter about the price or doesn't have any effect on the price. So with that said, how further down do we need to get? Well, we need to drop a further 24% to get like to start poking into the buy region, right? To the top of the buy region, it would be another 50% drop from here to the bottom of the channel. I don't necessarily know if we'll reach the bottom of the channel. I mean, because that would mean a pretty insane correction. That would be an 84% correction roughly with VeChain against Ethereum. I don't know if it'll go that far. I'm thinking maybe more near the top of the region, so within the 70% correction range is uh, plausible for me. And that'll be my rule, right? It's been my rule. If it was gonna hold at this level, it could be that it's rock solid, it's great, but not a buy for me and in what I have in my portfolio. It's the same reason why I haven't bought Ethereum, despite it be sorry, haven't bought Cardano, even though it's been rock solid. You don't necessarily know how high it can go. I mean, this is plausible. This is also plausible, but we've only been there once, so I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath that we get there again. But it's entirely possible. But with that said, the risk is high. VeChain's risk at this level here was high to me. It would have to be here for me to you know uh, believe that it can rebound from there. The risk is low enough for me to buy. But everyone's risk is different. Your risk might be different. If you really like VeChain, you might have already been dollar cost averaging your way down. I don't know where you started, but you could have been doing that already from the start of this line at 4,750 Gwei. You could have started accumulating while it's going down. Maybe I'll start accumulating when it gets close to the buy region, and then keep on accumulating it the further it goes down. Who knows? All I can really say is that it looks like the VeChain against Ethereum is waning, and we don't. There's no really bottom in sight until the bottom region here, right? If you look, we just kind of cut through these prices every time we move up or move down. There's not necessarily a sideways movement action with VeChain versus Ethereum. It's very much an oscillating chart, which is what makes it one of my favorite charts to work with. With that said, if we look at the relative strength index, we're still neutral. If we look at kind of where VeChain bounces off the RSI, it's more close to 30 rather than in the middle being neutral, right? So we're at 45.36. Yep. So, once we get into the 30s, like we did many times before, we can start talking about that. And the beauty about the RSI is not inducive of, this buy region here. We can hit the bottom of 30s, just above the buy region, right? Depending on how hard we drop and how quickly we drop. So keep an eye on the RSI as well to make a more decisive buy, I guess you could say. But that's pretty much it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.